Hi there, Paula de Fougerolles here to tell you about some of the key locations in my historical fiction series, The Chronicles of Iona, which tells the untold true story of the two men who in the 6th century founded the monastery of Iona and the nascent kingdom of Scotland. A Scottish warlord, Aidan McGabran, and an exiled Irish abbot, St. Columba. It's like the stories of King Arthur, but it's true. There are really two locations to which we return again and again in the series, even though the series ranges across the whole of the British Isles and Ireland, which makes it an awful lot of fun to write. Um, we return again to two main locations. One is Dunad Hillfort, where Aidan McGabran resides, and the other place is Iona, which Columba eventually calls home. It's a small island. It's 3 miles north-south by a mile and a half east-west, and it's located off the southwest coast of the island of Mull in the Inner Hebrides off the west coast of Scotland. And it's got about 120 people living on it today. Typical of the Hebrides, it's on a beautiful sunny day, it's like the Caribbean. Dazzling white sand beaches and translucent green waters, and you'd think that it was warm until it rains, and then you actually know you're in Scotland. Today, it's quite a pilgrimage to get there because you have to take a ferry from the town of Oban on the west coast of Scotland over to the Isle of Mull, then drive like mad across Mull to pick up another ferry to get you over to Iona. So a pilgrimage now to get there, but back in the day, it really was the center of early medieval Britain, Scotland, and Ireland. And this makes sense if you actually think of the oceans not as a barrier, but actually a highway. If you flip the way you look at maps, if you flip your eyes around and you look at the water instead of the land, you can see that Iona is actually the center and the heart of it all. Not just for where it's located, but for what it became. Because for such a small, seemingly insignificant island, it has an outsized importance in the history of Europe. Iona really punches above its weight. When Columba, one of the main characters in my series, when he's exiled to Dalriada in 563, he has to find, very quickly, he has to find a place to live because he's not just worried about himself surviving in this dangerous new world. He's got 12 men, 12 friends of his who have come into exile with him. We know that he approaches both the king of the Scots of Dalriada, a man by the name of Conall MacCovgall, and eventually the king of the Picts, a man by the name of Brythí MacMailcon, for the right to found a monastery on the island of Iona, which at that time we think was in Pictish hands. So we think this is what it may have looked like. Around a small group of buildings, which in Columbus' time would have consisted of the Magna Domus, or the Great House, where the monks would have slept and worked and ate, a little church made out of wood, and Columba's own private scriptorium, his own private writing hut, surrounded by a wall to keep them safe called the Vallum. From very modest beginnings, Iona went on to lead a federation of monasteries with houses in Ireland and Scotland and in the land of the Saxons. It became one of the principal places of pilgrimage in the West, indeed one of the most hallowed places in Christendom. You really can't overstate it. Iona became one of the places of culture and learning and civilization in Dark Age Europe, and we're learning more every day to suggest that it wasn't just one of the centers of learning, it was the center and heart of culture and learning in Dark Age Europe. It's quite extraordinary. It's a very special place, and if you can get there, I highly recommend it. And if you'd like to read more about its earliest history under Columba, then you can read my series. Okay, thanks a lot. And to find out more, check out these websites below.